hopefully she's watching them.
Hopefully. And actually,
Somebody missing back there? Oh, yeah, just one person. All right. So today we're talking about section 4.7, writing equations in point slope form. You've learned two different ways to write equations. We've learned slope intercept form. Anyone want to tell me what slope intercept form is? Owen? Y equals mx plus b. Good. And then yesterday we talked about standard form. Anybody want to tell me what standard form is? Standard?
like AC plus BY.
AX.
Yeah, AX plus BY equals C.
AX plus BY equals C. And so we proved yesterday you can actually go from standard form, you can move some stuff around, and you can turn it into slope intercept form with just a couple steps. It's just another way of writing it. And what is standard form useful for? Graphing the intercepts, the X and the Y intercept, and using those 2 points to graph your line. Slope intercept form is good for graphing the Y intercept and using the slope to find another point that's probably not the X intercept, just any point, because you only need 2. It doesn't have to be X and Y. Well, point slope form is just that. If slope intercept gives you the slope and the Y intercept, then point slope is going to give me point and slope, but it's going to be a point that's not the Y intercept. Otherwise, it would be slope intercept form. Okay. So we're talking about point slope form today. And so we're going to be talking about any point, like, I don't know, that one there. That's a point. It's not the Y intercept, it's just a point. So what we're going to do in this first section is we're going to, and this will be easy enough, we're going to sketch the line that goes through this given point and has the given slope. Then we'll find the Y intercept of our line and write the equation of our line. So if it has a slope of -2, I would go down how many? 2, and run to the right how many? 1. Pick the right one. There we go. And so my line would look like this direction. That's not a really good line. Come on, Notability. You're not doing me any favors here. It does. If that is going to look like it's straight, it's close enough though. Well, I know that if I go down 2/1, I know that that point's on the line. I know that this point's on the line. I know that, whoa,
Yeah.
it really isn't straight, is it? Thanks, graphing line feature from Notability. Let's make sure I draw a straight line here. So it should look like this. It's closer.
It was so useful.
There we go. So we know what the Y intercept is, or at least we should know what the Y intercept is. Who can tell me what the slope intercept equation is? Slope intercept form. Not the new one. We haven't talked about the new one yet. Who can tell me what the slope intercept form of this equation is? Brady? -2. Good job. Yep. So the slope's -2 and our Y intercept is also -2. Now the next one. Next one has a slope of 1/3. So we're going to rise how many? 1 and run how many? And to make sure our line's straight, I'm just going to do the points right now. Bless you. That looks a lot better. Christian, can you tell me what the equation in slope intercept form of this line would be? Good job. Yeah, we already knew what the slope was. We just had to figure out where it was going to cross the y-axis. Okay. We have C down 2/3, up 2 left 3, up 2 more and left 3 more. Oliver, what's the slope intercept equation of this line?
y equals -2/3x plus 4.
Nice job. The y-intercept's 4. And then for D, our slope is 5/2. So we're going to rise 5 and run 2. You can also go down 5 and left 2. And need one more volunteer. Carson?
Y equals 5/2 plus 5.
5/2. You're forgetting something. What goes after the m? X. There you go.
Sorry.
Yep. 5 x plus 5. You're okay. You're all right. That's good. Y equals 5/2 x plus 5. So these equations are all in slope-intercept form. And to write an equation in slope-intercept form, I need to know what the y-intercept is. They didn't give me the y-intercept. They gave me a point that wasn't the y-intercept. So we had to figure out what the y-intercept was before we were able to write it in slope-intercept form. Today, we're not going to have to do that. We're going to be writing equations in point slope form. So we're literally going to use the point they gave us and the slope and write a separate equation that can be turned into slope-intercept form without having to graph it. The point slope form of a linear equation is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. You have 2 days to memorize this. You'll need to know it for some of your quiz questions. Now, m stands for the same m that we've been using all chapter. What's m stand for? The slope. And then x1 and y1 is any point, get it? Point slope form. Any point that's on the line. Not just the y-intercept, because that would be slope-intercept form, but if I have any point on the line, the x1 and y1 that you see here in purple, dark purple, that's the x value and the y value of that one point that you need. And so the little 1 next to it is a subscript. And that just means that it's not the x and y that are already part of the equation. Those are in black. But it's I'm going to plug in for x1 and I'm going to plug in for y1 with that one point that I'm using. Notice that the point slope form of an equation, notice the point slope equation uses subtraction instead of addition. Whereas slope intercept is y equals mx plus b. Point slope is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So if I have a point like 2, 6, I would plug in 2 here, x minus 2, and I'd plug in 6 there, y minus 6. What would happen though if I had a point of -3, -4? What would happen, Jacoby? It would turn back to addition. You're right, because it's a double negative. So if I plug in here, this would be minus -3 or plus 3, and minus -4 would be plus 4. The one thing I don't like about tonight's homework is when they're asking you to plug in a point, they keep the negative sign, the subtraction sign there. So for example, if I was plugging in -3 for x, on tonight's homework, I'd have to write it like that. I can't stand that. And you can't do anything about it because this negative sign right there, that subtraction sign, is permanent and can't be changed. Just know that on your paper and on your quiz Thursday, I'm going to need you to write that as +3. Can you do that? I know I'm asking you to do something that the homework doesn't require you to do, but I cannot stand the double negative. It's not simplified to get rid of it. Yes.
Will you take off if we don't? do
Yes. I'll take off a half if you don't.
Right, it's +3 anyway, so I don't even want to write it.
And it looks nicer.
Right.
To make me mad.
Yeah.
It's like, is it worth the 5% deduction if I just to make them frustrated?
No, you just figure out the bonus.
I'll just get the bonus. Then you look at the bonus, you're like, okay, never mind. Okay. So the first part of tonight's homework is going to have you writing in point slope form, which is the title of tonight's section. So this is the point slope equation. I'm going to write it until hopefully, and honestly, you might want to write it down because the best way to memorize something is to write it. And so for every problem, if you write it down and then plug in the numbers underneath, every time you write it, it's just being ingrained more and more into your brain. So I'm going to plug in what for y1? Lizzie? 1. So I've got y minus 1, and that minus is supposed to be there because it tells you I plugged in a 1. If I plugged in a -1, I would have changed it to plus. Equals the m value, which is 2/3. So the slope of this line is 2/3. Parentheses, x, and then here comes the double negative. What do I write it as, Dawson? Plus 6. Good. That's what I want you to do on your work paper, regardless of how big ideas has you type it in. Okay, how about this next one? Shane, you want to try this? Plug in all the numbers and tell me what you get for our point slope equation. Tell us what you're thinking, Shane. I can't hear you thinking. Okay, so you're plugging in 2 for y1, so y minus 2, is that correct? Okay. How about -4? Okay. Got it. That's point slope form. Anybody else want to volunteer? Lucy, go ahead and do this one. Now, I took the point slope equation away. Do you remember it? Okay, or you can refer back to it if you need to. Just tell me, read the equation to me. Nope, nope. Oh, hold on. Why did you say y equals? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and write the -0, but I would be okay with your answer. Okay, so y minus, I just don't want to confuse everybody. Y minus 0
equals -1.
There we go. Okay, that's good. And somebody else to do this one? Somebody hasn't gone yet. I'll give you, I don't think you answer one like this. Go ahead, Owen. Yes. Yep, go ahead. Got it. Nice job. So what happens is that double negative, when he plugs in -8 and gets x minus -8, we're just writing that as x plus 8 and y plus 5 for the same reason. Now, both Lucy and Owen, I think, were wanting to simplify this. And so you don't have to. But if you did, Lucy started to say for her last example, just y equals, because of course -0 doesn't do anything. And then actually you don't even need the -1. You could just put a negative and then x minus 7. Just take it to the next level. Distribute the negative. What do you get? Y equals, Jimmy? What just happened? We went from point slope form to slope intercept form. That's how easy it is. It's easy to convert back, not only easy to convert between standard and slope intercept, but also point slope and slope intercept. I do not want that when I'm asking you to write it in point slope form. If I ask you for the point slope form and you give me the slope intercept form, that tells me you don't know the difference. Just need this. Or if you wanted to take the 0 off, I would be okay with that. Okay. What about this one? This would be y plus 5. And I could tell Owen was just kind of saying, hey, I'm times them by 0. Owen, what happens when you times something by 0? It's, yeah, there's nothing left. Again, you're doing too much. Just plug in the numbers and walk away, right? But if I wanted to write this in slope-intercept form, I would just subtract 5 over, and it would be -5. And what's a line that says y equals -5 going to look like? Like this, isn't it? And what's the slope of that? It says it's 0. The slope's 0, isn't it? So that makes perfect sense. So I only want this unless it specifically says, so I don't want that, not yet, unless it specifically says to go ahead and convert it into slope-intercept form. And yes, you are going to see some homework questions like that where you have to go ahead and take it to that next level. So if you're converting an equation from point slope form into slope-intercept form, you're going to need to know what the slope is. They've been giving it to you. They're not going to do that a whole lot. Okay. You're going to need to plug in the x1 and y1 point, and then you're going to need to solve it for y by moving some stuff around. Okay. So it says write in slope-intercept form an equation that passes through the given points. Are either one of these points the y-intercept? No. How would I know? Jacoby, what would it look like if they gave me the y-intercept?
So like X would be 0.
Yeah, and that would be really easy. If they gave me a point where the x value was 0, say 0, -2, I would know -2 is the y-intercept because 0, -2 down here on the y-axis. So I wouldn't have to do any of this extra work. We did problems like this a couple sections ago. I'll come back to that. They don't give me the y-intercept. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the point slope form of the equation, because what they do is they give me 2 points. Now I only need 1 point for the equation. So why did they give me 2? Xander?
So you can choose which one you want to use.
I can choose, but if it doesn't matter, why did they actually give me 2? Lizzie?
So you find the slope.
Yes, I need to find the slope. They didn't give me the slope. They didn't say m is 2/3. I have to find it. So remember, to find slope, I'm only going to write this once. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We did that a couple sections ago, or actually it seems like it's been longer. So y2 -2 minus y1 4 over x2 5 minus x1 which is 2. Martin, can you tell me what -2 minus 4 is? Good. And 5 minus 2? And what's -6 over 3 reduced to? -2. Okay. So I'm just going to use the first point. Xander said we get to choose. I hope Xander would choose the one that doesn't have the negatives.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be easier, right? And so we're going to plug in y minus and then 4 for y1. This is my y1 point. It was even the same y1 that I used to find the slope, although you don't have to. You could use either point. Equals the slope, which Martin said was -2, parentheses, x minus 2. So what we're doing is we're finding the slope because they were too mean to us. They didn't give it to us like all the other times. So we have to find the slope. We plug in just like we did to write the point slope equation. And then now we're going to go ahead because it asked us to. Because last time I did not ask you to. So please don't. Please just write the point slope form. But now it says find the slope intercept form. And so we're going to go ahead and convert some stuff. So the first thing I would do, if I'm trying to solve for y, get rid of the parentheses on the right side. Garrett, if I get rid of the parentheses, that means I have to do what with this -2? Good job. What's -2 times x, Garrett? And what's -2 times -2? Awesome. So one step. Second step. Let's get rid of the -4. So it's just y. Carson? Add 4 to both sides. And so when I add 4 to the right side, I'm going to add it to the 4 that's already there, and that's going to make 8. Wow. You project your voice very well, Carson. You even made it sound like it came out of Carter's mouth for a second. I thought Carter said that for a moment, but then I was like, there's no way he wouldn't have intruded upon your question.
No, it's just the
Right, Carter?
Yeah, I'm a very talented ventriloquist. I can make my voice sound just like other people even though across the room, I guess. Apparently now I can.
Are we okay with this? Are we okay doing this? Finding the slope and then plugging it in to find the slope and the slope intercept equation? Okay. Now I put this on here as well. Obviously the slope is still m equals -2. But just in case you wanted to challenge me and say, whoa, let's use the other point, the answer is gonna be different. The answer will not be different. If you use the other point, you're gonna plug in -2 for y1, which becomes y plus 2. You're gonna plug in +5 for x1, and you're gonna end up with the same exact equation of -2x plus 8 for y. Okay, so you could use either point. So as Andrew said, choose, and I would say choose wisely. Choose the point that you think would be the easiest one to plug in. Okay, let's continue this. Start by finding your slope. Jace, tell me how to find the slope of those 2 points.
You do 9 minus 6 first.
Good.
And then -2 minus -8.
Can I write +8? You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. -2 minus -8 is the same as -2 plus 8. And then what's that going to give you on top as our numerator
3,
and our denominator?
6,
And what's 3/6 reduced to?
1/2.
1/2. Okay. So first things first, we're going to find our slope. So as I'm building your test, which I've already written, but as I'm creating this test that you guys are going to take Wednesday, you're going to have problems at the beginning because one of the first things we learn in this chapter is how to find slope doing this. Is that problem going to be worth as many points as this problem? No, because on this problem, you have to find the slope and do everything else, right? So that this would be worth more points. So I get more points for doing all that stuff. All right, so now I'm going to write the point slope equation because neither one of these is the y-intercept. So I'm going to use the point slope equation, and I can use whatever point I want to, and Maddox gets to choose. So Maddox, write the point slope equation, you plugging in whatever point you want to. I don't know if there is a better one this time. Go ahead. Use the first one. Okay, so. Okay, y minus 6 equals. Okay, 1/2. Forgetting something. Parentheses, there you go. X plus 8. And then close those parentheses. Good. Okay, good job. So now that we've written the point slope equation, we solve. Connor, when you distribute the 1/2 to the x, what do you get? Good. And then what's the 1/2 times 8? 4. Excellent. So now we have y minus 6. And then go ahead and add 6. Got it. And if you use the other point, you'll still get 1/2 x, that y equals 1/2 x plus 10. Okay. Again, I'm making you do it a lot because this is like the grand finale of our chapter. Like if you can do this, you can use slope, you know what the intercept, like you can apply it all, right? This is what everything's building up to is this. And then the grand finale is what happens when I give you a story problem, you have to write it yourself. Okay. We're not there yet.
We will be there today.
We will be. Writing the slope. We're going to find the slope first. Sky, can you help me find the slope of this, please? Good. Nice job. And -4 minus 1. And 3 plus 2. And -5/5. Excellent. Alex, can you decide what point you want to use and tell me what the point slope equation would be of this line? Okay. Using the first point, y one not 5 parentheses. What's the slope? What's the slope? Okay, time out. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. That would be helpful. And again, I've told you should probably write this on your papers. I'm just doing it right now. Okay, so what did you say the slope was? Was the m? -1, and then parentheses. +2, the double negative. Yes, x plus 2. Good. Julia, would you solve this and tell us what to do to put it in slope-intercept form?
So y minus 1 equals x minus 2,
Okay, good. Distribute the -1, and then
and then y equals negative x minus 1.
awesome. Add 1 to those sides. Okay. Now, what I was getting to when I said this seems awfully familiar is we've done this before. In fact, if I pull up the quiz that you guys took that I haven't given back to you yet. No, this is a different quiz. I've given you that quiz back. The quiz that you took that was quiz 8, I believe, had you do, yeah, right there. Yeah, so I've asked you to do this before. I've asked you to take 2 points, find their slope, and then write the slope-intercept equation. Except you didn't know point-slope form at the time. So what you did is you wrote the slope-intercept equation. You plugged in for m, you plugged in for x, and you plugged in for y. You solved for b, because we have to know the y-intercept, and then you rewrote it. Well, we're still finding the slope. We're still plugging in for x and y, but we're plugging in for x1 and y1. And then instead of rewriting it, once we have it solved, it's already in that form, so we're good. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how what we're doing today relates to what we did a couple sections ago. Either way, no matter what method I prefer to use, and I'm going to let you on your test, on the test, you get to choose. On this quiz, you have to use point-slope form. But since some of you already have used this, I'll let you use whatever method you want to on the test. Either way, method you choose, you still have to find the slope. And so to find the slope, we'd have to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm changing both those to +5 because they're both minus and -5. What's 3 plus 5? Anybody? 8. -3 plus 5? And 8 over 2 is 4. So our slope is 4. So using point slope form, I would plug in 4 for the m. I'm just going to use the second point because it has 1 less negative, I suppose. And so y, bless you, minus 3 equals 4, parentheses, x plus 3. Remember, when you're plugging in, the x1 goes at the end and the y1 goes at the beginning. So it's a bit opposite. Distribute the 4 to get 4x plus 12. Add 3 to get y equals 4x plus 15. I actually prefer this method. If you want to use slope-intercept form, you could on your test. You would plug in 4 for m again, and then you'd pick one of the points. We could use the same one. You'd plug in 3 for y equals 4x. Nope, sorry, you have to plug in for x as well. So x would be -3 in this case, if I'm using the point -3, 3 plus b. You get 3 equals -12 plus b. You add 12 and you get b equals 15. The reason I prefer this method is because in the same amount of work that I've done for both problems, in one instance I'm done, and in the other instance I have to rewrite it. So it's just a little bit more work. So this is what we learned. Slope-intercept is what we learned how to use it a couple weeks ago, right? We were used to doing that. This is the new one, and this is a little bit more convenient because when you plug in for x1 and y1 and m and you solve it, it is in slope-intercept form, so you're done. Whereas here, I have to plug things in and it tells me what the B value is, and then I have to rewrite it after I'm done. So you can't just say, oh, it's B equals 15. You have to rewrite it, Y equals 4X plus 15. Okay, story problem. For 4 months, you have saved $25 a month. You now have $175 in your savings account. Use Pointslope form, that's the new one, to write and graph an equation in slope-intercept form that represents your balance Y in dollars after X months. That was a lot. I'm gonna read that again. Use Pointslope form to write and graph an equation in slope-intercept form. So they're wanting us to start in point slope, convert to slope-intercept, and then graph. So if we're gonna start off in point slope form, that means we need to know what our M value is, and we need an X1 and a Y1. So which of these values gives us our rate? Because that's our slope. What's our rate? Maddox? That's right. Well, not in 4 months. It says, yes, $25 per month or a month or however I wrote it. Yeah, so our rate is 25. Our M value is 25. Our X1 and our Y1, they only gave us 1 point. They said in 4 months, you have $175. Which of those is the X1 and which of those is the Y1? Well, look at your axis. What's the months axis? Is that the X or Y? The X. So the months is the X. So this is our X1. It's probably easier to do. Let's just do this. Just scratch everything out. Okay, that's our X1, that's our M, and that makes this our Y1. The dollars axis is the Y axis. So I got to make sure I'm plugging the numbers in the right spots. So my point slope equation is Y minus Y1 equals M parentheses X minus X1. Can somebody please plug those values in and tell me what you get? Let's do Deegan. Deegan, plug those values in and tell us what our new point slope equation is. I just need to plug them in. Yep. Mm-hmm. Good. You got it. Awesome. Okay. Now I need to solve it for Y. Carter, I'm calling on you now. Carter, can you tell me the steps we would have to do and then also do those steps to convert this point slope equation into slope intercept form?
You have to distribute 25.
Okay, go ahead and do that for me.
25x minus 100.
All right.
And then I would add the 175 to both sides.
And that's going to give you
25x plus 275.
no, it's negative 100. So you're adding 175 to negative 100. Yes. Now I graph. Now that black point that they put right there, that is the same point that we used to write our slope intercept or our point slope equation. They said in 4 months, we already had $175. That information was given to us. They also said that our slope was 25. So I actually could have graphed this without the equation, but I was supposed to write the equation as well. So I needed to do both. If I graph it without the equation, it did say I was saving $25 a month. So in 1 month, I'm going to have $25 more dollars next month, and so on and so forth. And where do you think this line is going to hit the Y axis? Well, right at the 75 that Carter said it was going to go to, right? So what we're actually doing is the same thing we did to start out these notes, except instead of graphing it and then writing the equation, we're able to write the equation without having to graph it. The graphing is just icing on the cake. Hershey syrup on those 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream.
That's so good.
Actually, I do Hershey syrup and then I do the caramel syrup on top. Just a little chocolate caramel action.
Yeah,
So I'm a vanilla ice cream person though, so
I like French vanilla.
I just not a big fan of chocolate ice cream.
I like French vanilla. I don't really like vanilla.
Okay, if it says the question, how much money was initially in your savings account? How would you respond to that? Lizzie?
Using the y-intercept.
Yes. When it says initially, we know the initial value is another way of saying the y-intercept. It might as well just said, what is your y-intercept? What is it, Izzy? How much money was initially in there?
75.
Yes. Okay. So if you see that question, just know it's asking for the y-intercept. At 0 months, we already had $175. And you probably figured that out pretty early, because if at 4 months, we're saving $25 a month, and at 4 months, we have 175, we didn't start at 0, or we would have had $100. We started at 75, and now we have $175. Okay, next question. You finished parasailing and are being pulled back to the boat. After 2 seconds, you are 25 feet above the boat. So in order to write our point slope equation, we need a point and we need the slope. That here, this is our point. Which axis is the seconds axis? The x. Okay, so this is our x1. And the feet axis is our y1 right there. So 25 feet. So there's our point. Where's our slope at? Do you see it, Maddox? Yeah, it's on the picture. Maddox, be very careful here. Tell me what our slope is. Nope. Be very, very careful. Nope. Be very, very careful. Deegan? It's negative because we are being pulled into the boat, right? Where our altitude is decreasing. So it's actually going down and over. Yeah, it's confusing. I know, because it doesn't say negative 10 feet per second, although it is going down. It's like the quiz question we had with the parasailer, and they're falling. So it's negative slope falling. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, and by the way, I don't need the equation to graph it. It is nice to double check my answer. But what I'm going to do is, without graphing it, I'm going to give you the slope intercept equation. So we're going to start with the point slope equation. Martin, would you be able to write the point slope equation for us?
Y minus 25 negative 10 and parentheses of x minus 2.
Got it. Excellent. Jimmy, would you do some work here and get this in slope intercept form? What's the first thing you would do? Okay. And what do you get when you distribute?
Negative 10x and plus 20.
Good. Next step.
Negative 25 over to 20, then you get negative 5.
But how do you move the negative 25 over? What do you have to do to both sides?
You have to add
So what do you get when you add it?
45.
45. Now, without looking at my equation, I'm going to graph the data that they gave me, and we'll see if our equation's accurate. I bet you Jimmy and Martin did a really good job with it. What do you think? Yeah. So I know that the point 225 is definitely on our line because it said at 2 seconds, you're 25 feet up in the air. It also said that every second you're being pulled in, so going down 10 feet. So 1 second later, I'm going from 25 feet up in the air to 15 feet up in the air. And I only need 2 points to graph a line. Let's see if our line matches up with what Martin and Jimmy got. Down negative 10, so that's pretty obvious because the slope's negative 10 still. And yes, our y-intercept is 45. So that matches up. What's our x-intercept? Jimmy? 4.5. So in 4.5 seconds, you're going to be in. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if 4.5 seconds, I want to fall 45 feet from the air. Like pull me in a little slower than that, right? 10 feet a second. Like I feel like I could fall 10 feet per second without anybody's help, right? I could go climb to the top of the basketball goal is what I think when I think of 10 feet. In 1 second, I'm on the ground without anybody pulling me in. I'm just gravity's gonna do that, right? So pull me in a little slower. I feel like whoever's cranking this is on steroids or something. Like you're gonna give me whiplash.
Yeah, that would be terrifying, actually.
Parachuting, like keeps like trying to like put you up so they have to like pull you down faster so that because like the wind is like probably blowing up into the parachute, I assume.
Wind makes, okay, you're right. Wind's a whole other factor that we're not gonna get into because you're right, that would change things.
Change things a lot.
It says, at what height were you parasailing before someone pulled you down? 45 feet. Oh, I just put 4F, 45 feet. So this question again is basically saying, what's your y-intercept value? What's that initial value? Okay. We got time. Let's do it. You're pulling down your kite at a rate of 2 feet per second. What's your slope? You're pulling down your kite. -2. At X seconds, your kite is 54 feet up in the air. Okay, so there's our point. I need this point slope equation. Who wants to do it? Xander, go ahead.
Y minus 54 equals -2 in parentheses x minus 3.
Got it. Who wants to write it in slope intercept form? Lizzie, go ahead. Go ahead, one step at a time.
So distribute the 2x, or not 2x,
The-
-2,
Okay, to the X.
Yeah.
What do you get?
-2x plus 6.
Plus 6, awesome. And then,
Add the 54 to the x, or to 6,
and you get,
60.
good job. And so we'll graph this, and whether I use the data that they gave me or my equation, I should be starting at 60, and I should be going down 2. Okay, so down 2 over 1. They are counting by tens here. So down 2 over 1 is the same as down how many over 10? Down 2 over 1 is the same as going down 20 over 10. So down 20 over 10. Why is this like this?
Yeah, why is it coming by 6s? That's the thing.
Oh, because I want to make it even more challenging.
Aw.
So let's do it. So it's over 30. Down 60 over 30, isn't that the same as down 2 over 1? Does that equal -2? So down 60 over 30 puts me right here.
Tyler, Haley off. Noah Miller,
What's the starting elevation of my kite?
Haley off.
60 feet. Bonus question. How long is it going to take me to reel her in? X intercepts 30 seconds. All right, see you guys later.